All right, folks, we've got a pretty hefty work session to discuss departmental budgets. I don't think I need to preface it what I did last night, so I will just hand it over to library staff to present their budget as it is. Just also just for folks to keep in mind that this is a work in progress. There are additional changes that do need to be made to the budget. I'm still working with department heads on getting pricing for services and technology and repair for certain issues that we're faced with. And those changes will be made in the next week and a half. So I'll turn it over to Ben. And yeah,
Thanks for being here. I know these are going to be longer, so
for your budget and answer any questions.
yeah. So I think you are handout there. I'm not usually one to write something and hand it to you, but that's kind of what I'm going to do right now. But if you have any questions as I'm reading, please feel free to ask. I want to also our board president. So the Plattsburgh Public Library respectfully requests an increase in the city's contribution or annual budget allocation, addressing key areas of stability, primarily sustainability and growth, specifically in technology and staffing. These adjustments are essential to help us meet the evolving needs of our community and maintain a high level of service that our people expect and deserve. So our initial board approved staffing plan for 2025 that we calculated would require $528,096 in payroll. This figure would allow us to provide for current staff as is, and then also implement contractual raises, increase some part-time hours for at least one staff member, and add 2 potential part-time positions to maintain better continuity of our services over time. This would necessitate a substantial increase in last year. Being a bit more conservative, we've adjusted our initial request to a smaller overall allocation that will result in a total payroll amount for us of about $492,500. While this is less than we initially proposed, this would still enable us to cover our contractual raises, increase part-time hours for one staff member, and create one new part-time position, bringing us to 10 full-time and 3 part-time. And of course, so in terms of staffing, this is crucial for ensuring that we're able to continue doing what we're doing and that our services can remain robust and efficient. And specifically over the last 20 years, and I know this is not unique to our department, or I don't know if I can call us a department technically, but across the city, but our staffing levels have declined significantly. We had 18 staff in 2002. We have 12 now. And so, we've had increased demands on the library. We were forced during the pandemic to eliminate 2 part-time positions during the pandemic. I'm sorry, I said that right. And a full-time position went unfilled following. We've done more with less, but we can't do it. Technology is a major component of what we're doing as well. Besides books and media on the shelves and programming and providing a third space, familiar with that term, third space, your home work somewhere else. You're hanging out, you're your place to socialize. For a lot of people, that's the library for many people. And those spaces are disappearing, and it's one of the only places you can go. So the library provides important access to technology and the internet for those who may not otherwise have it. From 2021 to 2022, our portion of shared technology costs, again, not unique to us, part of the city, doubled, rising from around 19,000 to around 40,000. And while we are able to apply for and receive federal E-rate funding to help cover some of these costs, this is one of the costs that we have little or no control over along the cost of employee benefits. So something to keep in mind as an important part of our mission. And then finally, In 2013, just over a decade ago, the city's total allocation to the library was 841,000. In 14 and 15, it was 811, and then reduced 7% to 751 roughly, and 17 remaining the annual allocation through the pandemic, and then increasing in 2022 and 2023 back to 769.38, increased slightly again in 2024 to 7. Despite these challenges, the libraries continue to maintain a vibrant collection, add new program offerings, find new ways to improve our library for our community. So this will only remain, as I said, sustainable with adequate funding, staffing. And while the library can and does certainly do its part to seek additional funding sources to cover these costs, we heavily depend on the allocation from the city to achieve our mission. As is fiscally prudent, I urge the council to consider a 5% increase in our total allocation to 2025, which would bring us to 794 and 366. Well, seven, yeah, rounded up. You see in the minute budget spreadsheet there. More possible, have to say that, to ensure the stability of sustainability. That's that, and I'm happy to answer any, if you'd like me to go over any particular lines or answer any particular questions about what I just said or the lines in the budget, I'm happy.
As always, please, if there's, I know this is a lot to consume. But over the next, week and a half, as you have these sheets, or if you need more information or data, just let me know. We can provide that. If you have suggestions or changes to these budgets, again, let us know. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike? Michael Andrew. Okay, so council, as a reminder, the Department of Public Works budget spans the general fund, sewer, and water. There are components of this department that manage and maintain water sewer infrastructure, general fund work, roads, parks, things of that nature. So we talked about this yesterday when Janelle and Mike Stellinger were here regarding some aspects of this water sewer budget that were not covered by them, but will be covered in part by Mike.
Like the mayor said, obviously, our budget is pulled out of local funds. General fund, water, sewer, and complex. We get into the general fund portion, you'll notice the budget. We have administration, all three funds. Administration, manager salaries, and actually. Regular payroll, maintenance. Water. Staffing currently, we're total staff 5. Almost to public works, we typically run that 5. Currently, we're not asking for any additional. Progress are requested in the general fund line for demonstration. Refuge, parts of education. There are some spots where there are some differences between what is requested and what we have. What I would like you guys to pay attention to, when you look at these sheets, obviously payroll is driven by contractual obligations, raises, revenue pay. overtime. We did a pretty good job at plugging in overtime in that. This year looks like the street maintenance. Really good. The bigger, those are the ones we need to pay. We have big bills. Natural gas, vehicle supply, all of them. Rules and supply. Five. Particularly some of ice. That is a fan that we follow. Any specific questions about any flooding lines or clarification? Breakdown.
I guess overall, Mike, what's your, from your department, I know that we pile a lot on what you guys do. But it wheelhouse. Someone moving the forward. Suggestion for structure change or organization change. Happening somewhere.
So, some of the council that's heard it, it's not happening. You're the catch all. All in. At first, it was no welcome to take that and help out. Project. They just became, you know what, doesn't really fit anywhere else. It's just fun. You have to. Every time you turn over. They're full. Yeah. You have some talented people out there. Every time you leave, you can know that you leave. Playing. Right now. Gonna get. So, retire. Yeah. Andrew and Michael. People. You need to hire people. You take that into consideration and count the more, not like that. Are you? Provide the service. Throughout the city. You come up here and front of you and gather, I don't like not to. Remember, I could take lots of.
I sit in that one. Said, and then I sit here and wonder where's that one gonna come from.
No, that's a very great point. The other thing is, they're not labor. And I could keep it things that a long time. Thank you. On people. It was brought up, couple that apartment. there was great concern about. Civil service. See if that person qualified to be part of that. Well, it is my job, I have a lot of things.
I am. Yeah. I. Where is it? It's not-
Well, the problem is twofold, it's money and it's power. Okay? Just bought your engineering. DOT. Better things out, better environment, right? Really now. You know, you have to pay lifeguards $20. There you go. Truck driver. That's another. How can you put $1,000? Training in town. The federal highway division, you have to do. Continue to train. Can't hold it. They can walk out the door, go look at the tank. These are all things that help with this. I know you guys are trying hard on this budget, trying to get it down, and I respect that. So you got that job. But again, a lot. I don't think it's a lot. Guys. Any questions on this? Can't you gonna give you a little update because yeah, but ask a very specific question that's not easy.
So I handed out spreadsheet, that breaks down our CHIPS funding, and this kind of fits in because I did basically a year-end summary of what our CHIPS would look like at year-end. And then gave you an outlook of what the CHIPS funding was looked at next year based off the projects that we have. By pathway planning. So breaking it down, basically the top group on the first page was our last reimbursement submission to DOT. So basically you have your CHIPS, your state of New York, EWR, your DOT and your touring routes, and we can kind of pick and choose what things come from which funds. CHIPS money is the only one that we can use to buy equipment. So if we have equipment that we have to buy, and it's pulled from the touring routes or one of the other line items to leave that specifically for purchasing equipment. So basically what you're looking at there is we have roughly just over $3 million total at the end of our reimbursement that's still sitting in our CHIPS funding. When I say CHIPS funding, I'm referring to all of the different groups there. The next block down from that, that's going to be our reimbursement that we're going to submit in December. So that is the remainder of the Margaret Street, which was the additional $900,000 that you guys approved at the last meeting. We have a couple of streets that we've resurfaced since our first reimbursement or our last reimbursement. So we have to get reimbursements from that. And then there is the excavator in there that Mike will talk about at next week's meeting. Now, if you look at that, after we get reimbursement, the very bottom line on there, between the CHIPS funding and the touring routes, we still have almost $1.5 million, and that money is going to roll over into next year. So if you turn to the next page, the very top tells you your 2024 rollover. And then it also adds in the 2025 anticipation award from the state for each fund. So next year, we're looking at Generally, about April is when we get our first letter from the state saying, hey, these are the appropriations we're gonna be giving you, plus your rollover. So our balance in April is estimated to be almost $5 million. So then if you look at the next block or the last block, the 2025 capital projects and purchase plan, these are the projects and the purchases that we have put in the capital plan for 2025. So if you take all of those out, we're looking at having a year-end balance of 2025 of almost $4.3 million still sitting in our pool. And that's assuming there aren't additional road resurfacing projects that we do. But that money, that $4.3 million in essence, would roll over into 2026, where you have almost another $2.5 million that's going to get added to our appropriated balance. So you're looking at 2026, you're looking at almost $7 million worth of funding still sitting.
And they don't give you less things.
So there's yes and no. So touring routes was a new program that the state started a couple years ago. Generally, what happened was we were getting about $650,000 a year from our CHIPS allocation. Then the state added this touring route program. It's been a very popular program. It sounds like the state wants to continue with it. If they were not to continue with it, and we were to only get our regular CHIPS reimbursement, that's still $650,000. That's still more than covers the cost, and we would still have, I believe, almost $2 million at the year end of 2025. That's assuming we don't.
What we did is build the capital plan. Based on looking. So obviously, it's like we're doing. I think the last meeting was. The state at any time, don't know what to do. Anyway. Yeah. I have to follow it. So, built the plan based on what you think is going to be. So this is related to not get ahead of ourselves.
We still have rollover money for the sort of do projects that we want to do. So if you guys have any questions on CHIPS funding, anything, how it works, breakdown? No problem.
See where your ink budget's going.
Yeah.
It would be great if, the public really could like understand that, it's money, it's bad.
Yeah, and that's where we have a great benefit because a lot of the projects that we do can be reimbursed through CHIPS funding. So it works out very well. Yeah. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Evening, folks. There would be, I'm going to do this process. I mean, been pressing this rather quickly. Everyone have a copy of the payroll and or the budget and comment? Okay. Well, I'll talk about some of the offsets that we have up top in the top columns. We're using some grant monies to offset some of our costs. And one of those grant opportunities was through the fence that we just got. We're essentially going to be moving forward with. And it's going to essentially go to offset our overtime budget, which unfortunately we are going to go over our overtime budget again this year. However, our payroll budget is going to be approximately about $400,000 under this year. So it should offset our overtime expenditure through May of the year. we're projecting $136,000 reclaiming and the police fees. That's our, essentially our court fees, our tickets.
It's also reimbursement for picking up this month, but it's reimbursement for, youth safety, BHA officer.
Our contract will. So. Moving on down the fines. We got 90. Okay, okay,
Well, make them all at once.
Yeah, take your time, yeah.
yeah, Melissa's been. Good point, person. Okay, our payroll estimate for next year is looking at 36, or I'm sorry, $3,676,213. That includes all the changes in our current that we have currently have implemented in our personnel. Overtime is still projected to be we're still budgeted for 250,000 next year. We're hoping that we'll have less increment than we have had this year. We got 7 recruit officers that are gonna be cut loose approximately January next year. So we're hoping to offset some of that manpower shortage that we have been dealing with all year and the years past, last 2 years.
We have retirement schedule. What sorts of retirements do you have scheduled for? Just made retirement. For 2025.
We only have one person that could possibly, you know, two persons that can technically retire next year. We also budget for that separation pay. The expectation, it's not likely that one of them is gonna be leaving that early, but we still haven't budgeted in.
Do you know if Chief Mitchell developed an action plan to deal with that kind? Do
I'm sorry,
you know if Chief Mitchell developed an action plan to deal with?
no, not to my knowledge, and I work directly with them and trying to curb that as much as possible.
Right.
Problem is we only have so many personnel working and during the day, we have 3 to 5 officers, or I'm sorry, 3 to 5 officers on most days covering the road for the entire city. And you start incorporating like stuff like crisis intervention teams that require additional officers to be there for safety of everybody that's involved. Talking expenditure of at least minimum 2 officers if they're not violent. If they're violent, then we start increasing manpower, then we have other complaints that are taking place. We run out of manpower very quickly in a lot of situations. And also, there's a lot of need for personnel when patrolling suspects that are not cooperating, essentially. So I run typical manning of a minimum of 4 officers on day shifts. And that's how I try to curb as much as we overcome as we can. Sometimes we have situations, obviously, like a homicide, for instance. We can't do much other than throw manpower at that until we have a situation resolved and in control. So back to overtime, 250,000 is our projection. Non-payroll compensation, we're still projecting 98,000. Separation pay, again, we included the possible separation of 2 individuals. In that. Office equipment stays the same. We did, after discussion with the mayor, reduce our motor vehicle budget down to 1 vehicle, which is 65,000. Outlay. Oh, our technicals and special equipment, we reduced that down to 0. We're using grant monies, opportunities to cover those costs.
You said technical and special.
Correct. Other reductions we made is vehicle supplies. We reduced down from 70,000 that we originally were asking for down to 53. That in part is mostly our fuel costs on the vehicles. And we have implemented things as such as no idling policies to curb that consumption as well. And we've been doing that the last 2 years, as well as, towards a greener initiative and vehicle function. Vehicle parts still stays the same. We're still 5,000. Technical and special materials and supplies, 25,000 as previous. Building grounds still 5,000. Office supplies still the same, 5,000. Personnel, clothing and equipment. We are projecting 32,500. We're negotiating with the union for an MOU where they are gonna essentially finance the cost of a possible updated uniform and equipment. So we expect some reduction of cost to the city. Electric is still 11,500. Water, sewer, the same, 2,500 and 1,500. In regards to telephone, we also expect a reduction in our bill. Because our contracted services remain the same. That's 55,000. That's for our animal control officer and academy director. And our training services. Printing copying still remains the same for us, 5,000 in budget. We typically, we're pretty close to that every year. We have gone over just a little bit this far, or this year. IT hardware and software, we're projecting 33,354. That's. IT contracted labor.
You know what you have, is there under repairs for motor vehicles, is that the program? We have a contract with a local car repair place. And we send the vehicles to them. How does that work?
Unfortunately, with like the complexity of like modern vehicles, a lot of times we have to go to the dealership for the specialty repairs. And obviously, the third larger cost, we do try to utilize a local.
Yeah.
Garage to minimize as much of the easier repairs and less complex repairs.
They get everything.
They do.
Well, I was gonna speak to the. You will see that same line.
Okay. I was just wondering,
There
but
are levels of, no, yeah, it was not even, it's more frustrating in a world with the time. I can have that out of people.
I was just wondering if there's a way that we can, have that bid out to a local card. This is to say, this is where, if our cars break, we'll bring them here, there's a budget on. 50,000. For car repairs, motor vehicle repairs.
Yeah.
So if, and say this is what the police, and see what kind of bid is over this is that a possibility, or is that?
I think it's down to, our mechanic bill, so, our, all, so we have fire, or we have. But they
Would you know, I mean, even if they knew that like $50,000 a year, they could possibly get, would they put it on top of one?
Do you think,
Get it. I'm just trying to think of cost savings. because this would be- Right.
Yeah, we,
think they'd want help?
well, we talked about, possible savings on the road of maybe, so we go through Huddick, it's the only Dodge dealership, if you go through their parking lot, there's trooper cars over there and there's our cars all the time. Yeah, and everyone's switching to the Durango platforms, it's the cheaper of the platforms that are available out there in the market. There are certainly more expensive ones, and my research showed that they had the same repair rates as the Durango, so. And limited parts to availability, I think we waited 2 months for. Just like radiator for the Durango. So, we'll talk about mixed fleets, mixed brands in our fleet, so that we could spread the load between the dealerships, so we're not at like. And maybe possibly utilize the Ford or Chevy dealership. Right. And again, we pay for the cost of on the different platform. So.
Thank you.
Back to IT hardware, software. We have budgeted 33,354. That's gonna be our biometrics. That's what we use for our Lincoln technology milestone, our camera system for the building. And we also have included Motorola costs. Fees for services, we have 18,000. That's for ON, vehicle washes, UniFirst, carpet exchange for the building. Invoice and monthly, it's a recurring expense. Repairs to equipment, we budgeted 1,800. Repair equipment at the building, such as the generator, AC units. Repairs to the building, we have budgeted 2,000. Again. Building repairs, I think it speaks for itself. Repairs to motor vehicles, we have budgeted now 30,000, it was 50,000, but we're hoping to reduce that with the newer vehicles that are still pending. We still have 3 vehicles that are pending delivery. And we're hoping that's sooner than later. Employee training, budgeted 15,000. This covers the cost of training and the travel expense itself through the lodging. We do try to use Riskity where we get free lodging. However, there's still some minor travel costs associated with that. Conferences, budgeted $800, postage $800. Shipping and transportation, $800. Crossing guards payroll, 84,000. Oh, sorry. Crossing guard, we have budget 183,443,000 or $443. Some of the materials and costs. For equipment personnel, we have $200 for each.
Which is not help me with the ones that I don't put figures in for, so this is kind of a collective budget, that which is ours responsible for, but with the help of the finance department and because I would like to start part of it. Especially with stuff. I almost.
So the special assessment that they're going to do, or, yeah, there's a special assessment, different for the older as well, that's where those revenues, I mean, it's essentially tax. For the building, or in my apartment.
Parking. Parking for the student. Parking for the. 15,000. Then, parking violation is fine, so it's 50,000. In full-time, the full-time personnel, so it's very about it. Limited overtime in there, but only that's going to be used completely to be helped. Payroll, then verifying is separation pay. I'm gonna go with the 3,500. Parts, 3,500. Those. Also are for consumption. Of supplies that we can use. Supplies to that number is actually going to be. We have the expense of the new IPS system. We've upgraded to quality cost. We've upgraded to IPS. that number now will be responsible for the cost of each mental health services. In the main for any. That's what they're targeting. Yes, and the new parking system, that number also. includes-
Make it real simple. Any changes that we've had from last year, you're gonna see, we still have 36 uniform members that are moving out. We have a manager. This budget reflects a third manager. That oversees the EMS division of our department. This currently does not have a manager on. Lack supervision, and with the increase in call volume that we've had in the last 5-6 years. As you've seen in the reports that you get, that we keep having increase, we have recently for management of that section. So that's in. And the other big increase would be for repairs to vehicles. We have 2 major repairs coming up on our engine at Station 1. We are waiting until January to do those, due to the fact that we have no more engines available. We have one that's permanently out of service, and we're waiting delivery on the new one to be ordered for 3 years. So when that happens, it's 4 years back. So what happens now, we have a frame repair that needs to be done for $27,000. And we have a head gasket that needs to be done. So that's why we increase. We're also, the good news is that our ambulance revenue is gone. We're looking at an increase of over $100,000 in ambulance revenue. So that will offset the EMS position. And it's continuing to grow, which it is projected about over 1.1. Action plan, we have 3 people in the academy that are gonna be coming out. Awesome. As we are now in positions, due to contractual obligations, certain people being able to schedule off. Their lives on the family. And staffing the department 24/7, 365, every minute of the day has to staff this. That's where it becomes difficult. See most of the numbers. I mean,
Well, one thing that, as we work through this staffing analysis, now because the fire coming going through. That will help also define the future state of that department looks like, whether it's staff at the right level or whether the recommendation by hiring more staff. Consolidating structure, consolidating firehouse, but the whole intention of this is to address some of those concerns as well as other concerns we're coming about.
right, and that will be, we'll be receiving that. It's like, standard cover and then go through. It's a deep dive. You're gonna have a lot of information to process. Ambulances are 3 years, fire trucks are 4 years, and that's considered. Two of the manufacturers we have checked, as we were talking about with vehicles and repairs. That's a problem for us also. These are the. I mean, I will tell you that, Public Works has helped us immensely. Their mechanics to right now, we have two vehicles with rear suspensions out. If you saw Morrisonville ambulance driving around, that was a borrowed vehicle. We ran out of ambulance. So the DPW was, they get on it quickly. And as far as getting an ambulance to the front of the line, because it's an emergency vehicle, and, you know, yes, we're getting an ambulance in November, and we have sent out, and we don't have it. I mean, they won't give us a limited time, but they said after the first of the year, so that will help us out. Okay.
I think just to start off at a high level, kind of to give a little bit of the vision for the development and planning office budget. Like 2025, we have a couple pieces, key strategies that we're addressing. I think the first being strategic staffing and onboarding. As you know, there's been some vacancies in the department, both on the community development and recreation side that we're citing and selling. Communication coordinator started a couple weeks ago, we have a recreation person starting this week. And so really getting people back into the roles to allow our department to be fully operational is really important. And then focusing on bringing those people online and getting them, fully up and running. 5. Another piece is leveraging, the expertise and capacity of consultants. And we can talk more about that in detail and as well to speak about that. We'll talk a little bit about the contractor services and who we're working with this year to achieve some of our strategic goals. But that's about really bringing in the right people on the right project and being able to scale our programming and do more with maybe, less staff or resources. And then finally, resourcing our planning team to cover functions, that were dissolved after the dissolvement of the recreation department and the engineering department and the assessors. As you guys already know, Public Works taken on a lot of that work. PBO has also taken on a lot of that work. And so Alicia's going to speak to some of the consultants, some of the pieces that we're bringing on to cover some of those functions, so that we can continue to fulfill planning goals in the community and build on those things. So that's kind of at a really high level what this budget looks like. I was going to start with the CBO budget and then move over to the recreation budget if that's fine. Would you like me to give it a line by line, or is there anything that anybody wants to jump into right away? And out. Oh, okay, yeah. I believe that, are we moving the fuel into CDO? Yeah.
What's that? What's that technical and special max? Is that the max can be? What is that?
Actual material. Are you looking under the economic development?
Yeah.
Line.
what's that?
Yeah, that covers different licensing software.
Oh.
So,
Alright. Good thing you use it at the beach.
except. The minor part of the, it was, it's kind of, then we spend a lot of money. Um, We'll have policy, those plans and, progress towards. This you all need to follow with funding, I that's from.
That software that.
Contracting services under the key development line, we're looking at, the ongoing agreement with Southern. We've been taking on our grant writing and grant administration. Pieces, but the contract, 3-year contract we signed earlier this year. And then we're also looking at working with, we have a proposal from a local organization that's proposing to help us manage our revolving fund. So we contract with them. That's something that we're working out some of the details for right now, but you know, we can sit in proposing to the council. This would allow for the administration of our community development fund, to be able to scale on the year. Right now, we're low on staffing resources and administration. But those loans earlier this year, they make a big impact in the community. They, you know, they help small businesses. And, we think this would be a really great way to get our revolving loan fund fully back up and running, get the money out of the account. That's kind of an example, and, you know, we would like to be putting that forward to council. The record. I think at a high level, you know, to speak about this budget, again, this budget is, you'll see, you know, the leveraging of partnerships and third-party organizations to help us scale our recreation program offerings in the community. This is our partnership with the YMCA. We have a third-party agreement with you know, we've gone in directions after, you know, the recreation department was abolished, and right now we don't have a recreation staff, you know, in the city. We're onboarding somebody next week, which is really exciting. So this focus is going to five is going to be to onboard that person, and really get them up and running so that they can use on our recreational program that exists, and then also look for opportunities, you know, recreational programming through partnerships with other community organizations. And that goal is onboarding recreation program coordinators. So we're really hoping that role is going to help with a lot of administrative capacity, building relationships. And we'll sort of work in partnership in a lot of ways with like community coordinator, to kind of maximize recreational offerings in the community, leverage marketing tools to let folks know what opportunities are available right now. Yeah, what we're providing. If there's anything to say, we're projecting, you know, continued steady growth in terms of our beach admissions. We had a great season this summer. In terms of how people come to the beach, we had really good weather for it. So, you know, we're just projecting a steady increase in that. We're looking at potentially increasing the very slightly the rate that will talk about, which is for 20 years now. Right now with the marina, that's still kind of a new partnership that we'll be looking to do. Again, in a 1-year agreement, in Portugal this summer, and I think we're looking to continue to work with Oasis to see how we can maximize our profit and grow that opportunity with them. Other than that, a lot of the revenue is pretty flat. Staffing for this budget covers our recreational regular people, and then everybody else falls under temporary payroll, which would cover our 3 labor positions and the 15 lifeguard positions. One of those lifeguard positions being that lifeguard. We adjusted payroll this year to more accurately reflect, you know, what we're seeing for people this year. Maintain that level of staffing. We also didn't have a recreation and staff member absentee as much this year, and they were able to make some specific staffing decisions if it was kind of a weather day and lifeguards and save money in that area. So, moving into next summer, we're looking at being able to kind of move that up a little bit through our staffing. But we're also looking to ensure that we've got proper coverage of the maintenance of the beach, making sure that we've got full-time, two people working, over the weekends and during the busy season, so that we're also not putting that burden onto, our field team and some of our public works members who step in, that. So we're going to create a balance. The admin, our recreation admin section is under contracted services, that's covering the contractor, the thing that happens to YMCA. Provide, free sports programming to youth, for the various YMCA programs that happens every year, so that covers both indoor and outdoor soccer, basketball, volleyball, all different kinds of ball sports. And that, we're looking to increase that so that we can that more participate, we, see it full numbers, we quickly, we start until 35,000, with them. They've been really great to work with in terms of getting our, getting us in the program, but I think there's still going to be opportunity for us to be marketing, messaging, and going to that. Okay, we've got programs. So, I'm excited to see that partnership grow.
Thank you for.
So, the finding department budget, some of the planning for next year that might change. Our accounting software, we might move from filing that to something new. So we might see a change in that.
Oh, we can't remember that. But,
Yeah.
Well, that was nice. Gee, didn't expect that.
So for the finance budget. It's 3% as last year, minor variances would include, slight increase in payroll, that's because of longevity. Asking employees. No change in managers, no overtime. Our compensation is, health insurance buyout for one employee, no separation pay. Office supply. Same. IT, and telephone, you're looking into that right now, so that might be lower. Traffic services, about the same. Property. uh, Service. Same. And we break it down into two different departments, we have finance budget, we have data processing. So for the data processing. Payroll. Back people allocated to that, then the time of the other employees. Allocated to that. Center. There's a total of 11 staff. For contract service for the data processing, as I said earlier, we might switch our accounting software, so that would be a big change. Might see decrease in the cost now. Here we go. We added that in to this budget. Budgeting. The budget operation section for here we go. Just in case that we want to keep that back in. Transparency. We also have our transparency for ClearGov. Going through content updating.
yeah, plenty of budget, let's see. All the. Federal fund. Benefits. Payroll benefits, social security, things like that, so, you'll also see the lion's share of all the revenue that is brings in. A separate fund, all of their. That they start down, so, all the state aid, federal aid, property tax, that all comes from the finance office and calculated and tracked. Yeah. We got If there's no questions for Casey, we do have some time. If there are questions about the budget in general, concerns, suggestions, for the next meeting, yeah. Corporate projections, but I know there's a lot of information. And as I mentioned yesterday, we're still chipping away out. Right now, it's about $390,000 deficit. For the budget, no period. Made a big bucks in the past. Profit up. Put the number on. If you need digital copies of these, happy to provide them. Otherwise, as a reminder, the budget is released on or before October 8th. That will include the entire budget packet, including departmental summaries. These sheets, projected, tax rate. All the graphs that come along with it, the capital program, all the city's tax obligations, the general fund calculators were, for general fund prediction for the end of 2025. We'll include the debt report and debt service report. Right now, what it looks like is a projected decrease in the tax rate from right now it's at $9.97 It'll reduce down by another 0.38 cents down to 9.589 cents. That's per thousand, that's rate per thousand. That represents a 3.85% decrease in the tax rate, keeping us well within the mandated 2% tax cap. Projected 6% increase in the city's taxable value, total taxable value, which is a change of about $73 million. That's down, by the way, from last year. Last year's increase was 11%, or $121 million, primarily due to commercial resettlements. Yeah, any questions? Comments, suggestions? Thank you, department head, for all the work. We can have work to do on this, so appreciate it. And we'll meet over the next week or so. Thank you.